Hi friends, welcome back. So I have my two Junes, and this is a comparison video I promised, and I kind of have planned like how I'm gonna go about this. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna just talk about the differences that you see here, and then I'll go in a little bit more detail and get close-ups when we talk about their painting and hair rooting. So right off the bat, you can see that there is a difference between, the two in height. And, my new June is a lot more, taller, more confident. It looks like she's sitting up straight, and she has more of a neck than my old June. And my old June, is lovely, is cute, and I love her. She was my fave for 1 year, and she's, just a little bit, more sunken in. You can see that she really doesn't have a neck, and it makes her look a lot shorter. And that's just kind of the beginning of it. Now, I attribute this to like a couple of things. Number one, my new June has neck rings. Rings in the arms and legs, and you can see that makes a huge difference in the way her body is positioned. And so you can see my new June, her arms, when it comes to their position in relationship to the torso, it's a much better fit. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. And so we're going to look at my new June. Okay, and so when I put sleeveless things on her, when I put clothes that may expose her arms and torso, it looks a lot neater. There is not a lot of space between her vinyl torso and her cloth body, and there it is. Okay, now when you take a look at my old June, here she is, my lovely. Unfortunately, you see that there's just those wide gaps. I know I've talked about it in previous videos, and it's not, and for a long time, when I first bought her, I thought, oh, that's just the way it is. A lot of us look at advertisements for certain products, and we're like, oh, it's kind of like the trick of the company, you're never gonna get what's in the, what's on a commercial or a flyer. And I just kind of accepted it. I didn't know what to look for. And, but it became pretty apparent, when I received my old June. After, even the first couple days, I started to look at non-prototype Junes. Because I thought, okay, well, prototype, they probably have special armature, special equipment. Maybe it's even a different dull kit. That's, manufactured in a more precise way, and so I looked at other Junes, and, some of them I saw some of the same problems, but there were definitely very beautiful quality Junes that, didn't have these gaps, that you see here. Okay, and so, yeah, so it really affects, the look of the doll. Okay, so that's one. And another thing is the distribution of her weight. First of all, the difference between the two is a pound. They're heavy dolls. My new June weighs about 9 pounds, 9.7 pounds. And my old June weighs about 10.7 pounds. But the way that weight is distributed and how she's weighted really affects, her mobility and her balance and her overall look. Okay, so another thing I wanted to point out was her legs. When I received my old June, they slanted sideways, and she did not sit up. And I thought, is this just the way the doll is, And if you notice, I have a little pillow behind my old June because she's unstable. Like, I can have her sitting up for a while, but I didn't want her to fall over and fall off the bed. So in order to have her more stabilized, I put the little pillow behind her. And if you look closely in my photo shoots, like on Instagram, a lot of times I'll put something behind her. Like I'll put a little chair, a little stool, or I'll lean her up against something, just to give her a little bit more stability. And so yeah, so the shape of her, the way she looks, is really affected by the way she's weighted, the way the ratio between the polyfill and the pellets, and how she's assembled. Okay, what else did I want to talk to you? Did I want to show you from here? I guess that's it. I guess we can now look at some of the detail. Okay, now another thing is when you take a look at their legs, I know my new June has the rings, but there's a difference in the way, they're filled, like I mentioned before. So if you take a look at my new June, she has beads probably up to her ankle, and the rest is firmly stuffed with polyfill. Okay, and when I look at my old June, when I look at old pictures, and I actually see this with different Junes. I've seen this with other Junes. That's why for a while I thought it was normal. When I received her, her legs were went sideways, and this was not properly stuffed. See how there's a lot of give? And so that made her legs bend. And again, that affects her stability. And a lot of times, I'm going to give you a little side view of her leg. Okay, you can't really see it now. I'm going to, flip her over. But a lot of times, if the legs are not properly stuffed, they'll bend inward and it'll look empty. It'll look empty like she's not properly filled. Okay. So another thing I was going to go over is one thing I love about my new June is it's just in time for summer to buy her things. Like I was going to buy her a little two-piece and go really early to the beach and do a little photo shoot with the girls. And I was thinking, darn, I live in California, Southern California, the beach. If I wake up on a Monday morning at 7 a.m., it's like 25 minutes away tops. I mean, I'm in heaven. And there's a couple of beaches I like to go to that are very, believe it or not as popular and secluded, and they're very beautiful. But I did want to buy my June like a little two-piece. I think she would look so cute in a little frilly bathing suit. And then her chunky little body, it's just adorable to me. But when you take a look at my June, my new June, she's very well proportioned. She has a beautiful torso. But then take a look at my old June. This is a thing that just, okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, see, this is very firm. You see that? Okay. And I'm just going to squeeze her side there. It kind of gives a little bit of give, but not too much. And then now I'm going to take a look at my old June, and I'm going to lay her down so you can see it. But you can probably notice the way her torso sinks in here. It sinks in from the side. Do you see that? I know there's a shadow, but it sinks in here. And when I lay her down, it'll be more obvious. Okay, you see that? And one thing I notice, even when I do, she's already tipping over. Okay, even when I do dress her in normal clothing, is that her chest juts out. And so and I'll flip her over so you can see, it doesn't lay flat. And so a lot of these things you really don't see in pictures, but when you're in person and you're interacting with the doll, you see it. And so, like I said in the beginning, I didn't care. I mean, I did. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But it didn't matter. I just went past it and I was like, okay, whatever. This is the way it is. But as I began to learn more, it did bother me. And I was like, okay, love my June, but I'm going to get a new one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over their details. So I'm going to go over my old June's first, and then I'm going to go over my new June's details, okay? And so I want to find a good way of doing this without being too harsh on her. And oh, there we go. That wasn't bad. It's a soft pillow. It's a soft pillow. Okay. So I think the best painting is on her face out of everything. She's got like pink cheeks. She's got a super sweet smile. And there's, capillaries and veining. And okay. And there's a pretty paleness, that goes with, having red hair. Okay, so there's a little bit of blushing there. And then just has like a beautiful, sweet face. And, okay, so anyway, so she's got a beautiful, sweet face. The only thing, that I did notice right away when I got her, and I mentioned this in another video, is her eyes. That's a little bit messy. You really can't tell close up, but it's still got the glue. And she has applied lashes. This one is nice, is good. But this one, it kind of sinks in. I don't know if you can see it, but here, it kind of sinks in. And that does affect how she looks in pictures if you take a picture of her at a certain angle. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell here, but one of the defects of the sculpt is that one eye is bigger or shaped differently than the other. Okay, so let's see. If you notice, this eye, wait, let me see. Well, it's really hard to tell here, but a lot of times when I take pictures, it doesn't seem like a big deal, and other times it does. But the eyes look uneven. One of them looks rounder and more open. I think it would be this one. And this one is more almond shaped. Okay? All right. So the only thing that really kind of bothers me a little bit is her eyebrows. They don't look bad now because it's in the natural daylight. But a lot of times when I do take pictures, they come off as being, very sparse. And there's a little bit of missing gaps there. So if you take a look there, a little bit of missing gaps. Okay, so let's move down to her body. And so her arms, she's so chunky that, they're difficult to move. And it's difficult to pose. Okay. So I love the rings that my artist put on my new June. But you can see how her torso can look warped or is warped. How it slants this way here. Okay. And then you see that? Okay. And the thing is that here she looks very pale, but it's still very fleshy, realistic. But when you look at the body, there's more of a chalkiness. It's like, even though there's veining, it looks like kind of like the artist didn't put as much effort into making the rest of her body like fleshy, like giving her a realistic flesh tone. So it's kind of chalky, and there she has that, and she has her veining. She has a little mole there. That's cute. But I'm gonna show you her arms. Let me see if you can see it from here. Uh-oh, sorry, baby. And see how there is kind of, it's very pale, but compared to the painting on her face, see that? There's not as much detail. Her arm, the painting on her arm, is a lot chalkier. She's textured, but it's a rough texture. And see that? There isn't that effort to put the same amount of detail that goes into painting her face as the rest of her body. And so you can see it kind of accumulates there, the chalkiness on her creases. And I want to show you her hand. So it looks okay there. That looks pretty. But if you look at the inside, this one isn't too bad. But this one here, where she has a closed fist, well, let me just show you. So that's her arm there. There's a lot of redness I'm not too fond of that. It kind of looks like she put her little hand on a stove or touched something hot. And you can see the redness there. And you can see the redness in her fingernails. And I'm not too fond of that. See that? And let me see if I can show you. And then when you compare it to her face, oh, there's a lot of shadow. There's, you know, it's a chalkiness there. And so there you go. And then when you go down to her limbs, you know, pale, yes, there's veining, but there's not that realistic tone or fleshy tone. Let me see if I can get a better view there. So there is some mottling, but again, when you look at the painting on her face, there, a fleshy tone compared to the painting on her legs and her toes, there's less of that realistic color. And there's a paleness, but you know, painting a doll pale light is beautiful, but then there's a way of doing it right so that it doesn't come off looking, you know, not so realistic or too chalky. And then, ooh, I don't know what I just did. Okay, so there we go. Okay, and here. And let me flip her over a little bit. Okay. And here you can see. And again, some of these differences you see very well in person. I think the camera's pretty good in this case at actually kind of giving her a more natural tone. Okay, I don't want her to do too many acrobats. Okay, acrobatic. Okay, so I'm gonna pick her up and I'm gonna let's see, how can I do this? I'm gonna have her face down. I'm sorry, my love. Okay, so I can show you. Okay, see, and there's the other issue, the Delta Dawn. Okay, so I can show you. I'm sorry, my baby. So right away you can see the hair there, the hair issues. But now this might be like a small detail. And so wait, let me show you the kind of chalkiness there is there. Some veining, but again, you know, a little bit of chalkiness. And you can see in the creases where the paint kind of, you know, accumulates there. Okay, now this might seem like a big deal. Okay, I mean, like not a big deal. And I didn't even notice it. I'm like, oh, okay, of course the cloth body is not going to line up with her torso. So she has like the indentation of her booty. But then when you take a look at her cloth body, her booty is actually like way down there. And I just thought, okay, well, they're not going to properly stuff it. Like it probably was not meant to, you know, to kind of flow. And I just thought, okay, well, it's just not going to happen. That's just the way the doll is. And so I'm going to show you how my new June, even though it seems like a small detail, when you take into account everything else, it makes a difference. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to go over is the hair. Okay, so when I read her description, and it said, you know, Delta Dawn, I was like, oh my God, Delta Dawn, that must be wonderful mohair, right? And so I didn't know, you know, but when I didn't know what it was. And so I just thought, okay, that's what they use. And so when I received my June, well, actually when I saw pictures, I noticed that her hair went every which way. And I thought, oh, it's because the artist is just working on her, you know. When she gets home, I'm going to clean her up and comb her hair. The problem is that when I received June, there was no pattern. Like, I do comb her hair this way, but that style is forced. And you know, and some of these things, like, I don't think that the artist natural, wanted to sabotage my doll on purpose. So I try to kind of separate, like, what someone's intentions are, what someone's skill level is, the tools they use, and obviously I was going to say that they're going to use the tools they think are best, but that's not always the case. That's kind of being a little bit positive, overly positive. But I wanted to approach this from kind of like a neutral standpoint. Like, why am I going to hold grudges? But at the same time, I'm like, what can I learn from this? Okay. And so not only does she not have a pattern, her hair is rooted unevenly. And, the Delta Dawn, I love painted hair, by the way. And I've seen a lot of Junes with painted hair. They look lovely because I personally love short hair on June. And they look beautiful. And so when you take a look at kind of like a rooting job like this, and I know it's messy, but even if it's messy, you can see that it's not evenly rooted. And I have to put tons of mohair conditioner. Not tons, but I have to condition it a lot. Or wet it to pat it down so that it can stay styled. But any little thing will muss her hair. And when you just try to, pat it down, it's never going to go back down. It almost always has to be kind of combed out. And so you can see it's kind of dry, brittle, and here her hair is longer. It always bunches up here, and it creates kind of like knots. It mats very easily. And here we go. Let me give you the side profile. Now again, when I condition her hair, I spray it and comb it. It looks pretty good, but any little thing can, basically mess it up. And you can see there. And the thing is that since I've received my June, when I received my first June, she's lost a lot of hair. And that's that I try to comb her hair gently. And I try to comb her hair, as gently and not mess with it. Like, not put, hats on her hair, on her head. And not, and just kind of try to leave her hair alone, really, and just have it combed to the side. And when I do comb it, and it's nicely combed, it looks nice. It looks nice, and from pictures, it looks cute. But again, in person is a different story. Okay, don't fall, my baby. Don't fall. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna put her there. Okay, so here is my new June. And then, so one thing I really liked about this June was her bright hair. I love her shade of red. I love that there's a pattern. So when you take a look, you'll see her bangs are wispy. The way the head falls perfectly, around her head. And she has like a two-tone color. And you'll see I haven't messed with it. I noticed that in my last video I was compulsively patting it down, but it didn't really need it. I don't know. I was just trying to, doing something with my hands. Sometimes I get like that. And so there it is there, and I'm going to turn her around so you can see the back. And I love that the back falls into a nice little wave. So you see how beautiful in her profile. So yeah, and then she's got nice detailing on her ears. And then look at this right here. And the artist uses Sarah silk. And look at that there. And it's long, but it's not bunching up at the bottom. It's not matting. And then this you can just pat down. And I'm gonna have her go full circle so you can see from every angle. Okay. And there she is, and there's a pattern, right? And the top, if you take a look there. So yeah, okay, so here we go. So let me Okay, now I'm gonna sit her down. Okay, so first of all, I wanted my June not to be so pale, because again, my old June, her face was beautiful, but the rest of her seemed very washed out. And so, what I love about Aurora, I'm a big fan, is that she pays very special attention to, of course, the face, but also the limbs. So, if you take a look at her painting, she has a very nice golden color, and notice that the paint does not fall into the creases. Like there's no, you know, paint that, that is just creasing there, and so that's a beautiful tan golden flesh tone. And you take a look at her arms. She looks better in person. She looks a little bit washed out because of the light, but even so, look at her golden tone. Very, very, very realistic. Okay. Let's see. And oh, sorry, my love. I always have to say I'm sorry, and I want you to see no paint, no redness here. Let's see if it'll focus. Very natural. Will you focus for me? Okay, very natural. And again, there's creasing, but there's no paint that accumulates in the creasing. And here is her wonderful chunky legs, but again, very natural tone. Very, very natural tone. Beautiful golden color. And then you'll see here. And then these toes right here. And then I love the way her little foot looks. I love her feet. And I'm just gonna put this one up here so you can see, the difference there. And again, the difference is a little bit more shocking in person, but you can see there's a paleness, but it doesn't necessarily blend in with the pink of her feet there. But you can see that it does there. See that? I love her toes. Okay, and then the other leg. There's a little bit of shadow, so it looks a little bit red right there, but believe me, in person, it does not. And there. And then her other little foot. And I love her. See that? How beautiful is that? And again, there's a gradual, it's whiter here, paler here, but again, there's a beautiful blending of the shades. Okay, and then there we are, her hand. And then there. Okay, and there we are. Okay, so I hope I made, not that I'm making a case. I just want to, kind of show you, in the year that I've been collecting, kind of how what I see as a quality doll has kind of evolved, and what I would look for. So if I were to do it differently, like I would definitely ask to see close-ups, ask to see the original work, not the prototype pictures they have in the ad. And I would want to see everything, please show me pictures of the body. Can I see your hair rooting? And also what, products you use. So now if I hear, oh, it's Delta Dawn, I'd be like, what? And so, yeah, and if you are getting a June Awake done, one recommendation I do make is that the eyes, what will probably fit a lot better, instead of having, round glass eyes or acrylic eyes, to use those that have a flat back, because they fit much better into her eye sockets. Because there's that little defect in the kit, and this particular kit, I don't know if it's true of all of them, had kind of like had kind of, I don't want to say bump, but yeah, it had like an extra patch of vinyl that kind of made it difficult to set this eye here. Now, I don't mind. I think, my character, or my June, when I write my stories, is kind of a little innocent, sweet one. So the little slant in the eyes kind of gives her a cute, like, little innocent, goofy look, like. And so I think it's cute. But that's one recommendation I would make. And again, you can see, well, I don't know if you can see the difference in shape, but if, some of my pictures, if you go to my Instagram, the shape of the eye really stands out depending on the angle in which they're pictured. Anyway, I'm done. I'm done, and let me sit her up. There we go. So I'm done, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And do not worry, I have people that I know who've kind of known me and my dolls, and when they realized that it was a new Lilu, a new June Awake, they were a little bit crushed. They're like, what's gonna happen to your old one? Okay, my original Lilu, she's gonna come back to me new and improved. Okay, and they're gonna be double trouble in the nursery. So thank you so much for joining me, for leaving your wonderful comments. And you know what, I want to tell you one thing. I know this is long. After a year of being on YouTube, it's almost going to be a year, and on Instagram, I really feel like I'm finding my groove, but more importantly, making wonderful friends, and really, finding my way in the community, and I love it. So thank you so much, and I love reborning. Well, not reborning. I love being a reborn collector. And so have a good evening, and I will see you later when I get back from my vacation. Okay? Have a good evening. Bye.